For the first keynote, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Ton Borsboom, Head of Lighting Design at Signify. Together with Signify's customers, Ton co-creates the next generation of user experiences with digital lighting systems in the city, at home, and at work. Please give him an enlightening applause, Mr. Ton Borsboom.
Thank you, thank you. Well, it's great to be here among all you techies. But you know, I all represent a very techie company, so I feel very, very comfortable here. Today I'm going to talk about light. And you know, being in a place like this makes me always very happy. You know, if you're in the shoe business, you look down. In the lighting business, we'll always look up and see what we have here. And you know, this is a great place to be. But what I want to talk about is design, and specifically about lighting design. Now, lighting, as you know, because we deal with it every day, is an experience. And lighting design is a profession that deals with that. And we deal with lighting design through three things. That's color, direction, and intensity. If we look at lighting, in the past we saw light, or the color of light, actually through the day and the way the sun shines. In the beginning of the day, the light is very bright, gives us energy, and we like to work. But if the sun moves, it goes down, slowly the light dims to a lower level of 2700 Kelvin, which is a warmer light and also allows us to relax. But today we can do so much more. Our eyes basically look at light from three levels. We're able to see red, we're able to see green, and we're able to see blue. But as we know, the world doesn't exist from these three colors, so you can also mix them up and create yellow, which is blue and green together. You can create, oh sorry, that was cyan, yellow. Yellow is blue and green. And then we have magenta, which is blue and red. And then we have, yeah, I'm mixing it all up, colors, so sorry guys up there. But anyway, that's what you have. You know, you have it all perfectly in your mind, but anyway, we go on. Now, but the point here is we can make many, many colors. But ultimately, we can make so many more colors than this. And ultimately, you know, I can go through this because the system will allow us to do about 16 million colors in total. But it provides the total, let's say, extension of what light can do. The second part is direction. Yeah, direction comes from this case, from the spotlight. It's high up, yeah, and it gives us a shadow, and the shadow gives you depth. And the fact that it's high up, it feels also very natural. However, when we're in our house, you know, light is usually very universal. It's unidirectional, and it is rather flat. Yeah, so it doesn't give you the contrast or anything. So, but by creating a very sharp contrast, as we do now, and it's used in theater a lot, and you see it around the room, it creates interest, yes, and it creates focal to the individual that is standing, in this case me here. Yeah. The next one is intensity. Yeah. So how much light is really needed in order to see me? Yeah. How low can we get? Of course, it's much better if you go to a very high intensity, because then you know the contrast is high and you can see a lot. But that's not, of course, the point of lighting design, to have all these things. But how do you mix this together in order to create a certain sense of light, and with that it creates a certain mood? Yeah? So there's a few recipes that you see here playing around of what light can do for you and experiencing it yourself. Now today, of course, this is a nice installation. But we in Signify, you know, we have the objective to really bring the value of lighting to everybody. And the way we've done that is basically driven by a technology change that happened about 5-6 years ago. LEDification allowed us to put color in every light bulb. Yeah, just the 3 colors that you see. For that, we could mix it. Secondly, the fact that we could have low cost and low power digital interconnectivity through Zigbee or Bluetooth and those technologies. And thirdly, the mobile phone, which allowed us actually to interact with those digital technologies. And out of that was, of course, born Hue. Yeah? So that is the first wave of what we see as an innovation also in UX, is how to bring all of this together. Now, the challenge with Hue is that the UX was a very complex thing. Yeah? So there are many different aspects to that, and I will walk you through those step by step. The first thing is the UI. If you remember, for the people who have seen you in the beginning, all the interaction that we do with you are done by the mobile phone. Yeah? But again, you don't always want the mobile phone handy with you. So since we actually innovated a lot on the UX. Yeah? So we thought in the beginning we don't need all the wall switches anymore. But if you now look at what we've done, we introduce wall switches anymore because it makes it very easy for people to access that. Yeah? The second part that we've done is that we found out actually by talking to the consumers that the best way of control of light is no control at all. Yeah? So we focused on automation. And that's when we introduced our sensors. Yeah? Basically, you program your light in such a way that it behaves automatically. You don't have to do anything anymore. The second part that we focused on was light recipes. Now, you've seen a little bit here what I've done, yes? But these light recipes are done by Thijs up there with a big electronic console with a lot of controls to make that work. Yeah, so for us, that was very, very important. In the beginning, we came out with the light, and the principle of that time was you can do anything with you that you want. So we basically gave the responsibility to the consumer to turn on the light. But that didn't work, and everybody had a big challenge to make the light work nicely. Since then, we have created recipes that are very clearly a value proposition to the consumers. In the video, you've seen it, and the way I've explained it, we have now what we call tunable white. So it allows you to create warm white, it allows you to create cool white, in order to fit it nicely with your life. The third part we did is that after figuring out, okay, we have all these light bulbs, there are certain limitations. And also our lighting technology moved on. We could make light strips, we could make other things. And this actually forced us also to look from a product design on what you actually can do. Yeah? So that was the third part of how design had to step up and create new configurations that allowed people to create what we call now not lamps or luminaires, but truly light instruments to create the effects that you want to have in your house. And the fourth part, which is important, and I think that's still our biggest challenge, is how do you communicate the value of light? Yeah, what you see here is nice. I put the show, you can see the differences, you can really feel it. But how do you communicate that from a marketing point of view to the audience that they cannot experience the light itself? Yeah, so it's impossible for us to create demo spaces everywhere. So what we do is that we create very nice imagery and videos that show the dynamics of lighting. But it is also, let's say, a limiting thing. Because from a marketing point of view, we basically have two challenges. Is how do you get new users to come in? But the interesting part of Hue is that it's not a one-time sale. People come in, they start small, and then they expand. Yeah, so continuously we are challenged on how to communicate the next value of light to those customers. Now what I want to do now is take a little bit on a path of where we see actually UX changing. Yeah? There is something going on in the world that you may have seen or not seen, and it's called virtual worlds. Yeah? There's a lot of talk, hype you call it, about metaverse, where we are supposed to all come together in 3D worlds to interact. And there's other virtual worlds, which I think already exist for a long time, which is the gaming industry. Now you may wonder, why is he talking about the gaming industry? Yes. But anyway, from the virtual world point of view, the virtual world that we see, called the metaverse, is a very low resolution. It's for the big public. You can operate it on your phone. But for us, it's not good enough to show lighting. So what gets us excited is the high quality worlds that the gaming industry makes. Yes. And what you see there is that I'm sure you guys have all seen and looked around in the games world, but today there's a few companies that represent basically the software to make the vast majority of the games. It's called Epic Games, who has a software called Unreal. And I'm saying this on purpose because I think it's interesting for you guys to take a look at it. And the other one is Unity. And both of these create the vast majority of game design software. So now why is this interesting? Because if you want to play a game as a high-end visualization, everything has to happen real time. Yeah, so you move around in the game, you shoot, you want to see the fire creates shadow, and everything else is automatically done. Yeah, so now, the challenge is, of course, it requires a little bit of power. Yeah? And therefore, you have the special game consoles which have the computing power. And if people run on PC, there's a whole business of graphic cards that is part of that to drive the force of that. Now, why is this important for us? Because today we have experience centers where you can experience light. But if you use the power of what these people can do, and I'll show you a little video, you basically have all control that you want of your environment. Yes? So let's say if we design road street lighting, and the customer says, well, it looks nice, but how does it look with rain? With this software, we can immediately do that, and everything will change real time. Yeah? So that creates a whole different level of interaction that we can do with lighting. And it will help us over time to create a whole different level of user experience that is not happening only in the real world for lighting, but it's also happening in the virtual world for lighting. The other thing that will happen is that in that virtual world, it's already picked up. If we're going to talk about architecture a little bit, what you see is that every major architect in the world is using the same softwares to use or to show the new project to their customers. So customers are already expecting a high level of reality in the first phase of their designs. Yeah? So we all know fly-throughs, but now it goes to the next step. And for us that's important because next to Hue, of course, we sell an awful lot of consumer lighting, or professional lighting. So there is the challenge for us, also in design, that now we're not only working on physical products, but we also have to actually focus directly on how do we actually use these new virtual worlds to position ourselves, actually to sell our products and to create demonstrations on how lighting can actually operate. So for us as design, it is a bit abstract at the moment, but I think it's important that you know where design is going. The part of what I showed with you, it's all about collaboration and bringing it all together. The importance of digital innovation is going to be ever more important. And at the end, it means for us as design that there will always be more work for us to do because we're going to be next to the physical world, also have to do an awful lot of design in this virtual world. Thank you.